What's going on, guys? So Crimson Desert just got a fresh patch. One of the first fixes that stands out is the boss issue. Certain bosses were showing up transparent during battle, which is the kind of thing that can instantly throw off a fight because now you are not just tracking attacks, you are also trying to make sense of what you are even looking at. That is fixed now, along with a crop issue where growth could stall in certain situations, and another where crops could not be harvested properly. So for anyone spending time with the farming side of the game, that is a pretty important cleanup. There are also a couple of fixes around characters and quests that sound small until they happen to you. Um, the gear lock status for Unka and Damian was not saving correctly, which means the game could forget an important inventory setting and make things feel messy when you are swapping between characters or equipment. Then there is the Scattered Honey Jars quest, where you apparently could not attack while riding the quest bear into the village. That is exactly the kind of issue that can turn a quest from quirky into annoying, so it is good to see that sorted out. They also moved the Mace of Ambition, so it is easier to obtain now, which is a nice little quality of life change. I like when updates do that sort of thing because it shows they are not only fixing broken systems, they are also looking at the flow of how players actually find and use things in the world. On top of that, the large fish carried on your back no longer disappear after collecting fish from a trap, which sounds very specific because it is very specific. But those are the kinds of odd inventory and visual bugs that can make a game feel rough around the edges if they linger too long. A few control and camera fixes are in here too. Axiom Force was showing its crosshair even when a target was outside activation range, which could easily mislead you in the middle of a fight or ability use. The camera also had this issue in certain places where it would stay zoomed in while swimming, and that kind of thing can be oddly frustrating because it messes with your sense of space, even when nothing seems seriously broken at first. Combat-wise, there are some nice adjustments as well. The Wyvern could not be summoned while in midair, which is exactly the sort of restriction that feels unintuitive when you are trying to move fast and stay aggressive. They also fixed aerial roll, traveling an unusually short distance after aerial maneuver, so movement chaining should feel more consistent now. That is the sort of polish that matters a lot in action combat, because once players get used to a movement rhythm, even one strange interaction can throw the whole flow off. There is also a graphics and settings fix for HDR. Certain UI elements were showing incorrect colors and transparency when HDR was enabled, which is the kind of problem that can make menus, overlays, and interface elements look off, even when the game world itself is fine. Not dramatic, but definitely noticeable. Localization got cleaned up too, with various translation issues fixed, and overall language quality improved across all languages. So the update is also doing some behind-the-scenes polish for players in different regions. The stability side of the patch is probably just as important. There was an occasional crash when loading cross-save data, which is the sort of thing nobody wants to run into, especially if you are bouncing between devices or platforms. They also fixed unnatural riding posture, wagons disappearing after using escape with stolen wagons, and Cliff partially sinking into the ground when using Blinding Flash Finisher on a slope. That last one sounds almost funny when you read it, but in game, it is exactly the sort of animation and terrain bug that can break immersion fast. Now, even with all of that fixed, the notice also makes it clear there are still known issues out there. Livestock on the ranch do not eat feed on the ground. Some AMD users on driver version 26.6.2 or later can hit crashes unless they move to a different driver version. Fish caught in certain areas can become unable to move. Greymane faction quests cannot progress while playing as Damian or Unka, and there are still a handful of platform-specific problems on Mac and PlayStation. So this patch helps a lot, but it is not pretending everything is perfect yet. And that really is the story of this update. It is not trying to overwhelm you with new systems. It is the quieter kind of patch that makes the game easier to play, easier to read, and less likely to trip over itself in the middle of a quest, a fight, or a random bit of movement. Sometimes that is the most important kind, because once the bugs start disappearing, everything else in the game gets a chance to breathe a little more naturally.